Trustee Melissa Augusta.
Here.
Trustee William Lawler.
Here.
Trustee Craig Messenger.
Here.
Trustee Tara Mishner.
Here.
Trustee Doreen Copar.
Here.
Trustee Geoffrey Wood.
Here.
Trustee Ramesh Verma present. Student Representative Ruchira Gary.
I'm here.
Student Representative Cindy Hong.
Here.
Everybody is here.
Very good, thank you. Please stand and we'll do the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, if we would, let's start by looking at the agenda for this evening. Does anyone have any comments or questions as far as what's on the agenda?
I only have one.
Okay.
On page 2, it's a substitute for another budget approval. It should be approved. Please.
Right.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions on the agenda?
I just want to add one.
Okay.
We want to congratulate our esteemed trustee, who was given a very highly award by the Detroit and the City Council. I want to congratulate on behalf of everybody.
Thank you.
Yes. I had the pleasure of sitting one table away from her, or actually just a few chairs, and the look on her face told me she was absolutely surprised. So. Good.
It's a good thing I was in attendance.
If there's no other questions or comments on the agenda, can I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Very good. It passed. Next, point 4 is our consent agenda. This includes the approval of claims and warrants L542 and the approval of our regular meeting minutes from April 20th. Are there any questions or comments regarding either of these two items on the consent agenda? If not, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
Okay. Very good. Moving on to point 5, I don't believe we have any correspondence.
We do not.
And point 6, I don't believe we have any special
do not.
guests. So, moving right along, we've reached the first of 2 opportunities for members of the community to come forward. In order to hear all citizen comments at a reasonable hour, the library board requests that speakers respect the 5-minute time limit. This is not a question and answer session, therefore library board members will not respond to questions. It is an opportunity to voice your thoughts with the Novi Public Library Board of Trustees. Seeing no one coming forward at this time, we'll move on to the next point, which is the student representative report.
On April 12th, the Teen Book Club met to discuss the book, I'll Give You the Sun, and the decorated ceramic plates and Sharpies, and there's a picture of that on the second page. To celebrate National Poetry Month, a local author, Melanie Zwagers, shared the delight of mixing poetry and drawing. Teens were introduced to robotics programming at the Introduction to Robotics program. And on April 20th, the Paradise Park of Novi's owner discussed the best tips and techniques to enhance interview skills and the tips and techniques for a successful interview program. And teens celebrated the National Pretzel Day at Pretzelpalooza by enjoying a variety of pretzels. And Community Financial discussed saving options at the Smart Money Saving Tips program on April 28th.
The teen space attendance for April was 469 people. For the TAB update, at the April TAB meeting, members had the opportunity to meet with guest speaker Jeff Hawking and Lynette Curtis of COEI to discuss a potential TAB service project in the upcoming year. And the mission of COEI is to help those homeless and on the streets in nearby cities and help them give the necessary things for necessities. So COEI works to collect backpacks, socks, and other vital items to help the homeless throughout the year. And that's one of the ideas that TAB has to work with next year for a service project. And also at that meeting, TAB held their officer elections, and potential candidates gave their speeches, and each member voted for their top choices of each position. And the new board of officers will be announced at the final TAB meeting, which is this Friday. And also in the month of April, the Teen Advisory Board worked on their service project, so we partnered with the National Honor Society of Novi High School to collect toiletries and to be collected for the Novi Holy Family Church to be distributed to people in need. And a collection bin was put out in the library lobby as well as in the office, the volunteer office at the high school. And those donations will all be sorted and put together and ready to be given to the Holy Family Church at this Friday's meeting.
Great.
For upcoming programs, on May 7th was the comic book magnets program, and Introductions to Robotics programming is on May 15th and May 22nd, and the final TAB meeting is May 20th. And on the back page, we have pictures from two of the programs. The first one is the Community Credit Union program, where they came to explain money-saving tips to teens, and the second one is the Teen Book Club meeting, where they decorated ceramic plates. Are there any questions?
I have two questions. I love books like The Giver and, all the Harry Potter books. Teen books have always been just a great book for me to read. What was I'll Give You the Sun about?
I'm not sure.
You guys can read it? I'm just curious. Okay, no problem. And then I have a bag of, sample size from like hotels. Do you guys want to take them before you leave today?
Yeah, we'd love to take them.
Okay, great. It's a big bag. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Melissa.
Any other comments, questions? Thank you very much.
Great, thank you, ladies.
All right, moving on to number 9, the President's Report. Goals update. Julie, you want to lead us through some of that, please?
Sure. We're coming on, this is through April and a little bit of May. We have about one more month, all of June, to finalize all of our goals. I'm happy to take any questions you might have, because as you're noticing, the goals document is quite large and getting larger as we're finishing up and finalizing details for you. I've met with my management team today, and I will have a fairly comprehensive document for you next month, pretty much taking us through close to the end of our fiscal year when it comes to the goals. So knowing that it's quite large, there's a number of items in there. I'm happy to entertain any questions that you might have at this time in regard to the goals document.
My concern, every time I look at this, I go, wow, how can they do all of these goals and all of these strategies and still maintain the day-to-day work schedule that you have? I just feel I'm overwhelmed by the number of strategies with the goals, and would hope that we do not put pressure on you to keep doing more and more and more, because sometimes less is more.
Correct.
When it comes to really focusing on what's important as opposed to what's the goal.
Sure.
And so I feel that every time I read it, and I did it again this morning, and wow, how come they have so many things that they have to do, and a lot of them are interrelated.
Sure.
But you could spend all your life just saying, did I do this strategy, did I do that strategy, and how far along are we, and there's no red ink on this report, how can I add something to it? So I just would warn us, I guess, that sometimes less is more.
Sure. And I thank you and appreciate the comment. Actually, in our management meeting today, I reminded my management team, because those are my major go-to people for day-to-day, that not meeting a goal or finishing it or even getting to it is a bad thing. So I thank you for that, because that is the conversation we had. And what I asked them to do is, but give an update. So by the end of June, you'll see, we looked into this, we didn't find it was appropriate, or we didn't get to it this year, and we're going to move it to here. So not everything does, get done every year. But what we try to do is, from the strategic plan, we took those 5 years and we broke down close to 100 ideas that came from the public into the 5-year section. So we did do a very good job of sectioning them off and kind of figuring out when that would be the best time frame to look into it. And this truly is a time for me to say kudos to the Novi Library staff, because they take on a lot of these as personal goals for themselves for the year, to look at different programming or to implement something new, along with some of the other things that are, what you're seeing is some are things that just happen every week that run very well, that don't need a lot of attention, but do take from their daily task, yes. But it's an opportunity for them to look at new ideas and new ways of bringing things to the community, or technology, or trying. But I want to let you know, I can reassure you that I've shared that with the staff, that it's okay. Goals are there as an opportunity to look at and think about, and sometimes not necessarily put into motion, but to have a serious conversation about them. So thank you.
I was just going to add, I think one of the great things, just piggybacking on both of your thoughts, is that it's such a collaborative team. So yes, the staff, but also the opportunities are given for us to be able
Yes.
to attend things and to represent, and I feel like that takes off some of the pressure too.
Yes, it does.
So if one person attends this meeting or represents the library in this way, then everybody doesn't feel like they have to be everywhere at one time.
Right.
So I think we have a really good sense of teamwork here too.
Yeah.
And most of the goals, to add to that, are not necessarily done by one person either. So there is a good collaborative opportunity for staff to be working together in order to get something done. So then it really, it might seem like it's a lot and there's a lot of time involved, but when you have more people, it's not as time consuming.
I had a somewhat similar reaction as Member Papard when I saw that we applied for the Mary J. Ritter Literacy Award, and the application for the 40 libraries that we selected to receive free copies of the best pictures for teens, and you can certainly add the application for Library of the Year. I'm glad that we do all of those things.
Right.
And I thought the application was great, but I do echo the sentiments that there needs to be a balance with the day-to-day activities.
Right.
And I don't sense that there isn't, but I am glad that we're.
No, we appreciate it. Thank you, for saying that and being aware of it, because, we want to make everybody happy, and we want to do so much, and we want to please our community, and we try very hard. It's great to hear that from you as support, that, we know that, we can dial down things and stuff if we need to, or if we feel like it's appropriate. Thank you.
Any other comments? Nope, all set, okay. The next point, 9B, we are due to have the director's evaluation in executive session at our next board meeting. Trustee Verma, is that something that you can once again be involved with?
Do we have to send that form to all of our members?
Correct.
I sent you a copy, or you don't have, so I will send a copy to each one of us. I know some of us are very new. They may not be knowing so much about our operation by the director. But whatever you people can put in that, and I will send you that by next week or so. That's a proper form we have been using for the last 6-7 years. And then I will ask you to submit back to me by certain date, then we will discuss on 17th.
Yeah. And just so you know, the way this generally will work is that we'll have our normal board meeting next month, and then we'll break from here to go into executive session to have that discussion, and then probably just come back in here to adjourn from here. So that's, we'll still have a normal meeting, plus we'll have this separate meeting in executive session. So that's how that works.
Other than reading the form, sending the form back to our secretary, are there other responsibilities that we have in preparation for that?
Probably not. I mean, it becomes an opportunity to discuss in whatever level of detail we have and wish to discuss the director's performance and whatever else would come from that. So,
Do we discuss salary or potential rate? I mean, is any of that involved?
well, that's kind of, and correct me, either one of you, over the past few years, I believe it used to be in the June session that we would discuss salary because of the financial situation we found ourselves in for a couple of years. A lot of that was delayed. We addressed that this past December. So,
Right, so it's just a.
I don't
And that's what I'm assuming it
yeah.
would be. That's what I'm expecting.
yes.
Just to evaluate the work she is being done. That's the way we will be looking into,
Yeah.
not the salary.
It gives the board a chance to, to obviously say good or not good things as we see them, but to provide feedback as to this seems to have been done exceptionally well. This is an area to work on, whatever everyone feels. So it's good. It's like any other performance review. It's good feedback. And we should all give it as much thought as we can before that meeting. And you'll get something from Ramesh that will prompt you to think about some of those things. Okay. Moving right along, the 9C, you will see there Library Board Committee appointments. Again, that was made. Thank you, Ramesh, very much for coordinating with everyone and coming up with this list. What I'd like to do is simply ask, this is probably the first time anyone, perhaps other than Trustee Verma, has seen the different committees and who's on them. So if take a minute, look at where you are, and if you have any questions or want to discuss any changes or anything else, this would be the time to do it. And then after that discussion that we have or don't have, as the case may be, I would suggest that let's show our agreement on this with we'll have a vote just to get everyone on record as to the committee assignments. So take a second to look at it, and then again, if you wish to make changes or suggestions or have questions, this would be a good time to do that.
So to get it going, I would make a motion that we approve the listing of library board committee appointments as listed and provided. So I so move.
Actually, to all of the trustees there, I really asked everybody to give me what their suggestions are, and I tried my 100% that everybody is fitting in those committees. And if there will be any one or two items somewhere I put in, please look into, and you can come and tell us now.
So it's a second on the motion.
Okay. Any discussion before we vote on it? Okay. I take it we're all in agreement then?
Well, my real discussion is, how do we know what our responsibilities are and set a calendar, and what are we expected to do, and, what does it look like? So that'll come later, I'm sure.
It will.
So we're voting yes, and I don't know what I'm getting into.
Don't you like the element of surprise? It's a mystery. No. Last month, I did try to give you a definition of what those committees are, which was in the board packet. And I also provided to you a few things that I thought each committee might be working on in 2016-17. So if you want to refer back to that, and I believe there was an email, I definitely can send it to you, because there are a few things that, as I'm thinking forward, obviously the bylaws, and which is why we put together a bylaw committee this year, So we know that the bylaws, we want to review those, and those are board bylaws. We have a policy manual that is in need of review. So if anyone's on the policy committee, that will be one of your tasks this year. And from the experience with the HR committee, I can say that you're probably going to be giving about 6 months of time, which probably equals out to 2 to 3 meetings, because the library staff will try to, begin that process, work on things, and then bring them to the board to start having discussions. I thought and maybe Trustee Mitchner, you can weigh in on this, but I thought that process worked well when we did it for the HR.
It was awesome.
Okay.
Yeah, it worked really well. Just to give you kind of a snapshot of what we did last year, we met together briefly, kind of talked about some of the nuts and bolts of the committee, some of the things that needed to happen. And then Julie and her team, the staff, actually looked through everything. And then once they completed the work that they did on their internal end, they got back with us, and then we went over that together. So even though it was a large investment of time,
Yes.
6 months roughly,
Right.
it didn't feel like we were meeting together every week or anything like that. So
And we definitely can be flexible.
it was very smooth.
I think that's why, you put it in for the year to have that whole year to accomplish it. It's going to be one of your goals this year for a full year to be working on that project. To add to that, Finance Committee, if you're in there, I do see us, as we go through the process of the building assessment, and maybe even before that, having a conversation and talking about fund balance and maybe some specific allocations and how it might be earmarked for capital projects in the future. So just want to I'd love to see a finance plan, a future finance plan that we can share with the community of, we know, even though the building's only 6 years, it's already starting to depreciate. We know that at certain markers of, certain years, we're going to be having to look at replacements of carpeting and replacements of roof and HVAC and things like that. And I'd like us to really think about some of those long-term costs and how that might affect the budget and the fund balance we have now that maybe we can be setting aside or investing in some way so that it's there. And we're not running into any future issues of not having that money when those things happen. I do love to think in the future and plan if we can. To some extent. I know that some of that seems far away, but again, year 6 came very quickly, and that's June 1st. So it does go by fast. And the building has things that have come up. You've all experienced it with me during the budget process that, there are expenses that have come up through the years. So that's something I'd like to see Finance Committee work on. Events marketing, I do know that there's going to be a reach out. We did it last year of a thank you to our sponsors and our patrons who have given generously to the library. We tend to have an event once a year, and we do that in cooperation with our friends of the Novi Library. So that's going to be a project we'll definitely be pulling you in on, and hopefully you'll be working with us on if you're on that committee to get that planned. I can tell you that they're thinking about a patio party, which means it's going to have to be done and planned earlier than in October like last year. So I'm going to give you a heads up just in case they move it forward. Strategic planning, we should probably look at again, like we did last year, which Trustee Lawler, I'll have you add some input, but I do think reaching out to the community and letting them know what we accomplish is a good thing, which is why we do the goals document, and potentially having, a couple feedback sessions and community event opportunities where people can stop in and, hear about what we've accomplished in year 15, 16, and what we're thinking about for the future, and seeing if there's anything out there, that's on their radar that maybe they'd like us to be doing that we're not aware of. So that would probably be fall, early, middle fall, that we could be looking at something like that. And building and landscaping right now, that's definitely the entryway. And we have a very large parking lot project that will happen, which will get planned and probably not done until fourth quarter of next year, springtime. But it is something we'll have to plan for and coordinate. So I'll definitely be keeping, the building committee involved in that, as well as anything else that comes up building related that can come up throughout the year. Does that give everyone just a good idea of what might be coming up?
Yeah, I guess I would simply add to that, just over the past couple of years that I've seen, a lot of the activity in the committees comes as an idea or suggestion of things to work on from Julie, but not all of them. And certainly, you know, if you're on a committee and you think there's something that should be addressed and worked on, we don't want to wait for Julie or anyone else to bring it up. So, you know, we do a lot of this in conjunction with the director, but the ideas can come both ways. So that's just kind of the history of how it has happened so far anyway.
Right, yeah.
We do have a motion that's been made and seconded. Any other discussion on the motion? Does anybody remember what the motion was?
Yep.
Okay. It was to accept the committee assignments as outlined. In that, no discussion, then all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It has passed unanimously.
Be looking for Outlook calendar invites from now on. Thank you.
Moving on to point 11, we'll turn it over to Trustee Augusta for the Treasurer's Report.
Okay. All right, starting with Fund 268, the budget for Fund 268 for the current fiscal 2015-2016, ending June 30th, is on pages 34 through 36. It shows revenue of $2,673,181 and expenditures of $3,092,245, consuming $419,064 of our fund balance this fiscal year. The expenditures will increase $4,500 pending review from the board after increasing the grounds maintenance under capital outlay on page 36, which is towards the bottom. Fiscal year 2016 to 2017 calls for revenues of $2,774,726 and expenditures of $2,974,944, fund balance usage of $234,782. The revenue and expenditure report for the current fiscal year 268 is next. Revenue, which is on page 40. A summary of the year-to-date revenues through April is $2,754,126, and it has increased by $17,533. Expenditures, our expenditures increased in April by $275,407. Our expenditures for the first 10 months of the year are $2,285,976. This is about 75% of what we have budgeted for, and we are through over 80% of our fiscal year, so our overall position on expenditures is very good. We currently have a positive net of revenue and expenditures for Fund 268 of $468,160. Bearing any unforeseen expenditures, we are on track to use very little of our fund balance this year. All right, Fund 269, we did use $2,159 from the fund for our beautiful artwork from the Prost family in honor of Bob Prost, and over $2,000 of that was donated from friends and family of Bob Prost previously. The balance sheet, which is on page 44, towards the bottom. The balance sheet for Fund 268 shows our fund balance at the end of April is $2,187,583. On page 45, the fund balance for Fund 269 at the end of April is $1,659,539. I just had one question from follow-up from last year about that $25,659 that was allocated to Fund 268, line 986. Did we ever find out what that should have been allocated for?
I apologize.
Oh, that's
I did
okay.
not, so I will check on that.
Okay.
Yes.
And that's all that I have.
Any questions for the treasurer?
Mr. President, this is the first report she has presented, and I applaud her.
I agree. Well done.
Thank you, and I do owe it all to the president who helped me and gave me massive amounts of guidance. So I thank you, and to Julie, so thank you
You
very
really
much.
sounded like you knew what you were doing. Great authority.
Thank you, everyone.
Terrific, thank you.
Great job.
All right, moving on to point number 12, the director's report.
Okay, a few things to point out to you. Just to make you aware, we're doing a little bit of a change in our meeting room rental service. For the past 2 years, we had made available Saturdays, and the administrative staff had worked different schedules to accommodate having someone available in our admin office for meeting room rentals. After 2 years, we found that we really did not get the traffic. People didn't stop in, even with us promoting it on Saturday, in order to engage the staff. And to have someone there for 8 hours available, it just didn't seem like a good amount of time, useful time, when it can be used during the week. So I just wanted the board to know that we're going to go back to a Monday through Friday schedule with that for admin. People who are interested in renting will have the opportunity from 10 until 6, Monday through Friday, to do rentals with us through the admin office. We have not run into too many problems with being that available to them, and I don't think we'll run into any problems. Usually people are calling well in advance that we're having those conversations with them about planning a rental for a while in order for the paperwork and for us to make that complete transaction. What we are going to do, though, is we have found that some patrons drop in and they're actually looking for the last minute rental, where they're coming in that night, and because it's after 6 or close to, sometimes there isn't someone available. And in the past, we haven't done that drop-in rental with only our admin staff. Well, I'm working with my management team to provide that service, because we always have a manager on staff in the evening. So if someone is looking for a last-minute rental, they'll be able to do that quite easily with the library. And that's where we've had the most requests over the last couple of years, and have not always been able to be accommodating to that. So I'm happy to say that we're coming up with something better, we think, as a solution to one area, and hopefully we'll be able to continue to work with people when it comes to rentals, those long-term ones that they're looking for far in advance.
We'll be having some sort of a answering machine on, say, Saturday. If somebody wants to leave a message that then you can call back?
Yes, they already can call the admin office, and a message can be left for people to call back.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay, following along, there's the email that I had sent out to the staff, or to the board members, giving you information about the additional $4,500 cost for the main entryway project. I wanted to give you the preliminary vote results, which are at the bottom, just so you saw the information and how it was received. I know that we'll go ahead and we'll talk about that during matters for board action. I did want to point out on page 47, there was a follow-up email, which is still looking at the same time frame that we had talked about a month ago for the project to get going. I'm going to be working with the city in order to get this information out into a number of different publications. The city sends out some e-news information in a couple ways. We do our June e-newsletter. I'm going to work with the Novi News to put an article together so that we can start getting this information out and let people know that this project's going to be going on. I am happy to report from the information here provided by Adam Wayne that they will be keeping you can actually exit out of the library onto 10 Mile and will enter off of Wildcat into the library parking lot. So at least there is an opening and there is traffic flow that will be kept through that 10 Mile entranceway. Any questions about that at this time?
Have they given any projection as to how long the entire construction might take?
They're telling us July 16th. That's when they're giving us like an ending date. So June 20th to July 16th.
Thank you.
So about a month.
Yeah.
Timeframe.
If I remember from our meeting, the city has assumed the responsibility for signage.
Yes.
so that people will know what's open, what's closed as they're driving on 10 Mile.
Yes, and I will verify that again.
And
Yes.
how soon will those notices go up so that people are prepared before June 20th?
Very good. I think what we'll do too is, if we, actually, in the next week, we'll start putting something, when people check out materials too, to give them a heads up. Because people are on a 3-week rotation of materials if they're checking out, so, okay.
Yeah, I think that's going to be really important to make sure that we don't get people confused on how to get in and how to get out.
Right.
Even with all the notice about 275, it's still been a mess, as people have physically. learned
Nobody's
how
gonna
to
be
do it.
happy, they're gonna see orange pylons by us, I'm afraid. Following, you see a small paragraph from me about the library cafe update. At the time that the board packet was being put together, which was, the last of it was Saturday morning, this was my update. Today at your seats, you see a letter which was drafted from our attorney as to the direction the library will take moving forward. We will be moving forward and continuing the lease that we have currently with our cafe owner. But we will not be signing any additional lease or anything like that for the future. So as of 2019, that would be when the lease would be completed. What I will do at this point is I will send all of you, because I believe we have a few new people on the board that might not have seen the library cafe lease as it currently reads. I will send out a new copy to everyone so that you can see the current lease. And then we will continue to make sure and monitor that Mr. Bernstein is actually keeping to the language of the lease. So I'll be looking at the hours of operation and things like that, just to make sure that everything is being followed correctly.
Why is there so much confusion about what the lease says or doesn't say?
I honestly, I don't know why. It's just, when it was written up, the way it was written, it's in favor of Mr. Bernstein in order for his business to be going forward with the library, and which would make sense. So it's actually changed hands from the first attorney that it was first created with, from the library. So they don't have record of past information and how the history was taken from when it was first documented.
That just seems,
I know.
The
More
current,
than
the
strange.
current lease allows for an extension, a 3-year extension at his choosing.
Correct.
It does not give the library an option on that, provided that all the other requirements of the lease are met on an ongoing basis.
Correct.
My understanding is that was something that was insisted upon to make sure that if he was committing to this, that he would have an extended amount of time, because that was an important part of his business and livelihood. So I don't know that there was ever confusion about the lease as much as just different points of view as to what it should have been. But as far as what it states, I think it's fairly clear. So as she said, we're going to go ahead and allow the current lease to continue as written.
Correct. There won't be any changes or any
Which will provide
revisions.
3 more years, provided all the other elements are met.
Right, that is correct.
What you have written, the last para, I have expressed the need to revise the current lease with Mr. Schultz once we know further information received.
And we are not going to be doing that. I put that in because at the time I had not received the letter that you have in front of you. That was my next step, but at this point, we're going to stop at this particular level. And I apologize, the word received was just a carry-on from my paragraph, it was not a lost thought. I did go back to make sure that I'd covered everything from my notes. Moving on, just wanted to give you some dates ahead of time. When it comes to the library world, we are definitely always planning well in advance. So I think our library has become a wonderful opportunity for people to connect with authors. And two large programs that we have been hosting now for a number of years. In fact, the Community Read will be in its 7th year this fall. And I can't unveil to you the title. It is a secret until the unveiling, which is August 11th. But we do have an author lined up and a wonderful book to be read for the community, which will also engage the high school as well, which we love that component. I can tell you that that has been scheduled for Wednesday, November 2nd. And then we also are almost confirmed with our Fox Run author event, which has been scheduled for Wednesday, October 12th this year. So bringing in 3 authors in that fall time is always a great opportunity for people to connect with the writers of these fantastic books. And then also noted is that we are working with the State Fair to bring in an author for the first time. They've not had an author in the past, that type of programming, and we'll be bringing in a youth author, Jonathan Rand. He's the author of the Michigan Chillers and American Chillers, if you've ever heard of them. I can tell you that 4th and 5th graders love him and love his books. So even with my son being older, he thought that was pretty awesome that we were bringing him into Novi. So following that is a little bit of information about our new artwork. If you haven't had a chance, please stop in and see it. I thank Trustee Messerneck and Trustee Verma for being in attendance on Sunday at the unveiling for the Prost family and the unveiling of the new artwork called Autumn Kaleidoscope. It was created by artist Emily Beadle, and it is 6 foot by 4 foot. Beautiful piece that hangs just as you're going up the staircase to the 2nd floor, and it brings just a lot of vibrant color. This project and this commission of art was completely done by donation money from family and friends who knew the Prost family and knew Bob, who had passed away. So the artwork was being commissioned by the family in order to go in the library. So we thank them for thinking of the Novi Library and in order for that piece. It's beautiful.
When I read this, I was just wondering, and I know that we've had many donations of art. Kathy Crawford just had one, for example. What is the process well known? Because we could get inundated, with art, like I have a picture that my mother did that I would like to donate, or whatever.
Right.
So
We-
what are the checks and balances?
We don't normally take people's artwork that they have, that they're looking to donate to the library. And the reason why is we truly don't have a lot of space. The building just doesn't have a lot of wall space. In fact, I do believe we're getting very close to being completed when it comes to artwork in the building. It's nice that over the last 6 years we've built, and I do think we're almost there. What I typically do with a family, and in this situation, is I sit down with them, knowing what the donations have been made and what has come into the library, sit down with the family, and I talk to them about their loves, their connections, what are things that might connect them to the library, and then I provide them ideas that I already know are projects or opportunities that we are already probably looking forward to in the future, to see if that's something the family would identify with, or the person who's made the donation. So it is already vetted in some ways from me in the library world and my staff, because it's things that we're probably looking for that we could engage them with. The friends do a wish list with us. That wish list is generated by things that we know we want or could use or need, both for staff or community or residents. And so it's similar in that way. Did I answer your question? I mean, there's not an actual proposal. There isn't anything like that. It's more conversations for a while to see where we're going. And I think those conversations have to happen first before we can settle on something. It took us a year with the Prost family for this decision.
It's a really wonderful opportunity to connect the community with the library. But just like I think maybe less is more with strategies.
Right.
I just wonder when is enough enough.
Well, and I think when it comes to our work, I think we're there. I mean, that if I were to be approached with an opportunity like this, it probably wouldn't be artwork that I would be suggesting, knowing that in our library, we've now presented a number of different mediums that we make available, our wood and glass. I think we've reached that plateau. So it'll be other things. Yep, absolutely. Any other questions? Following that, I have a number of reports that are from my management team. One of them I do want to point out to you, which is page 49. This does go back to our meeting last month. Barb Rakowski, who's my head of IT, she had provided to you the survey that we received when it came to technology. And I believe, Trustee Lawler, you had a question about how do we follow up with patrons who have questions.
Right.
Well, first of all, you're seeing our answers. We wanted to provide them to you, to the board. We've also uploaded this to the website. That's our best way of reaching out and letting people know these answers, because we did not take any information specific to a person to get back to them. But we have made this available as a Q&A that will be going up on the website for everyone to have access to. We will also highlight this in our June e-newsletter that will be going out too, to let people know you had questions and here are some answers to those questions. So thank you for that. Then we have facilities, and I'm happy to answer any questions that come from a number of these reports. Information services follows, which is...
Hold on.
Oh, yes.
The facility item number 5,
Okay.
the monthly van wash fluid check, what does that mean?
We do a monthly van wash and fluid check on the van to make sure that all the levels...
We don't have a van.
It's for the city. We do it. We check the city just to make sure everything, because we use it.
That is city's van, the city should be doing it. Why we should be checking?
No, in our memorandum that we signed, we would check on levels and be diligent about making sure that levels are checked and completed. We do that for them as a courtesy, and they do the same.
So whenever we need any van we get a van all the time, or there are so many vans by the city?
No, we have the same van that we're using, and it's actually kept at the library.
Oh.
Yep.
The city doesn't need it?
Not very often. We're the ones who are using it more than they are.
Okay,
So we
thank you.
appreciate having that given to us and having the access.
Thank you.
I did have a couple of questions on the report.
Sure.
The IT report, 29 IT help desk tickets were closed. What are those tickets generated for, and who buys? Is it just our employees?
They are. They're employee, which can be generated from patron if there's a patron issue that requires IT assistance, or it's from the staff needing something that requires IT assistance.
Okay.
But yeah,
Then my second question was, in the facilities report, they also closed 29 tickets during the same period. Those are not the same 29.
they are not. No, those are facility related. So anything related to the building just happen to be the same number. Two different people keeping track of two different, stats.
And then I don't know if we're allowed to go back to the Information Services March update by April Stevenson yet, but the IS department put on 117 programs.
Wow.
What kind of programs?
Those are all the programs listed in our calendar. So story times, teen programs, events, I mean, everything that we are hosting and that has the library, either we're sponsoring it or we've partnered.
Okay,
That's everything that we did for that month.
okay, the dog show and
Yes,
everything.
everything that we're providing to the public.
That's a lot.
That is a lot.
Thank you.
On an average of 3 to 4 programs a day, potentially.
That's awesome.
Yep, but some of them, just so you know, they're in, they're in conjunction with the friends, it gets planned and then the friends maybe might be there. It's a setting up of a performer, and then the friends do the hosting. So not always is it, that takes time, don't let me discredit the time involved, but it's not always, manually hours and hours of labor to come up with a program. The story times are what, if you ask me, are very, very time consuming. That's a lot of planning and curriculum almost that they come up with. Yes, yes, that they come up with because they're performing in some ways.
I have 2 questions.
Sure.
Page 56, are we there yet? Is it
You
okay?
definitely, yes.
Okay, she was talking about, April was talking about her conference.
Yes.
I was just curious, I love that, how 2 libraries quit summer reading and you can too, and how to engage in more participants, renew. Did you, any ideas of what you guys might be thinking about, or?
Well, I haven't had a chance yet. I wanted you to see this because I always like them to give you feedback when they've gone to a large conference like this. Yes, she she was very excited about the programs that she went to. And I do think, we have already summer reading planned, and it gets started and planned from January. So she went to this in March. So for her, this will be future planning for next year and where we might take summer reading in the future.
And then under the support service
Yes.
report, it says that David McCown has resigned
Yes.
for support services supervisor. Do we have candidates? And
Yes, we actually already did interviews, and we have a new person that will be starting just as his leave starts.
okay, good.
Yeah.
I know it's a pretty big position, so it's like you
It's a
need-
part-time position.
Oh, okay.
It is.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, but it is a big position. It's an evening supervisor for the most part, and on weekends.
Okay, thank you.
I have just two comments. First
Sure.
of all, I would like to thank you for attending the Fox Run Expo.
We loved it.
Yes, and we love to have you. And
That was our
I think
first
that-
time, so
Was
it
it?
was quite an eye-opener. We hope we are invited back every year, because it was great to connect with all the
all
different,
the different activities.
programs that are going on, yes.
And then my second is not facilities, but I noticed today when I stopped by the library that there are lots of shrubs along the edging of the parking lot that have been, rather had a hard time with the salt. And yet you're putting mulch down, and some of those shrubs are either half dead or all dead. And I'm just wondering what the landscaping plans are.
Yes,
for that.
that's a wonderful question. In fact, the mulch is not being put around them too tightly, for the fact that there are a number of them that are going to be gone, based on, they are no longer viable.
I was surprised at how many.
Yes, yes. So, and I'm actually I have a meeting, we're holding off, they're gonna sit there for about a week. I have a meeting with the city, because I want some feedback and some suggestions as to perhaps what else we could put in if those are not handling, the salt and the weather and whatever else is going on.
And we didn't have a lot of snow. so
Not this
a lot of
year.
salt, And yet the
But-
damage seemed to
yeah.
be disproportionate.
Yeah, it's close to 50 shrubs that we're probably going to be changing. Yeah. So I want a conversation with the landscape designer from the city to just give us some feedback as to, is there something more hardy or, so yes, thank you for asking, because it is something we are moving forward with.
We have not had good luck with some of our
Oh, I know,
shrubbery and flowering things.
right, yeah. It's been a little disappointing, it has, yeah. I'm finished, unless
Okay.
anyone else has any questions.
All right. I think we're at 13, pardon me, committee reports. You'll note that we don't have the new people
Correct.
listed there, but you can see where you would fit in. I think we've talked about most of those so far.
And I didn't meet with anyone specific in terms of committees this past month.
Yeah.
I would like to comment on, since I'm going to be involved in strategic planning, the older adult services just had I think, an unusual community conversations about writing for their strategic plan. You participated, I participated, and it was done so well that I was just wondering when there would be some opportunity for that type of community conversation with the library.
Well, I would love, with us starting our new fiscal, I would think we could be doing that probably this fall.
Because they hired an outside consultant who was very, very effective, laid back, but very clearly in charge.
Right. I know that we didn't put any specific budget money in for a consultant, but perhaps I can reach out to older adults and Karen and see if she can give me some feedback as to how maybe, or some strategies for how that might go about for us to get some feedback for the library's end.
Any other comments regarding committees and committee reports? All right, we have come to our second opportunity for members of the public to come forward to the podium. In order to hear all citizen comments at a reasonable hour, the library board requests that speakers respect the 5-minute time limit. This is not a question and answer session, therefore library members will not respond to questions. It is an opportunity to voice your thoughts with the Novi Public Library Board of Trustees. Seeing no one rushing to the podium, we will move on. Okay?
In some ways, it's sad. I mean, it's a relief that we don't have a lot of, but in some ways, it's sad that we're so good that nobody has to come. It's like a bittersweet kind of thing.
I think they're all at home watching us eating popcorn.
Yeah.
It's all the red and the gold, all the updates. We took care of it already.
All right, the item 15, matters for board action. As we discussed earlier, we all were solicited our idea as far as approving the $4,500 for the widening project at the Library Drive, and you saw the responses on that. I would like to have it actually voted on and approved officially. Does anyone wish to discuss it any further before we vote on it?
I just want to, this money which library will be using, it is being transferred to city,
Yes,
so they will take care of that.
correct.
All the payment to the contractor, everything. Thank you.
And we did budget for this amount, I believe.
Yes, it's reflected in the
Yes.
budget. Correct.
Just thought everyone should know that.
Yes.
Hearing no further questions or comments, I would entertain a motion to accept the approval of the $4,500 to be spent for the widening project.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It has passed unanimously.
I would like to comment. I think the process of using email voting is effective in times in which you need a quick decision and people seem to respond, and you responded well.
I just wanted to make sure it was documented,
Officially
yes.
documented, so, but the process seemed to work quite well, I
Yeah,
thought.
I think it did. I do think, though, there are times when if everyone isn't up to speed on what the full issue is,
Right.
that can be a little dangerous.
Yes,
So
and I can tell you that's not my normal way.
Right.
To go about a process.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they were looking for a quicker response, and obviously before our board meeting, in order to make that happen, so.
Yeah, I mean, I still consider myself to be a new board member, and yet I think I'm second senior on the board here. So there's a lot of history and a lot of things that not everyone will be either privy to or even recall. So I think we hardly ever do it that way.
Correct.
I agree it was quite effective. I would just say we don't want to get into a habit of that on significant issues.
Yep, I agree, thank you.
Before we adjourn, I just wanted to remind everyone that we have a planned activity for June 1st that we are all to participate in, hopefully. Any comments or questions on that before we adjourn? Everybody remember it? Okay. In that case,
Well,
yes.
Mary Ann Cornelius's retirement as
Yes.
city clerk is a huge change for the city of Novi. She's just been spectacular in that role. And I was just wondering if, when are those dates? You had two dates, I saw them someplace. One was at the city council meeting at 6:30.
Correct.
And the other was retirement at Suburban.
Correct. Off the top of my head, I don't want to quote them without the right information, but I can send them out back to you if you'd like me to. I know there was an invite that I had forwarded to all of you, and I will do that again.
Yes.
Okay.
Because she really is of great service
Yes.
behind the scenes
Yes.
for things.
And you would go ahead and
that-
register on your own. You don't have to do it through me. Go ahead and do that. Yep.
I think
Okay.
it's at like 5 or 5:30, so I think we have time to go to that.
It's
and
prior to
then
our June
come to the
15th meeting, our board meeting. Yes.
It's the same day as our June.
Is it the June
It's the same day.
15th?
It is June 15th. Thank you.
Yeah.
And then the city council meeting,
It would be that Monday prior to the 15th, yes. So that's the 13th, June 13th, I believe.
good question.
Yes.
What is that they said, buy that ticket? What is that ticket means?
That's for, you would purchase a ticket in order to attend.
Do you know how much is that?
$10.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
But it would be free if you came at 6:30
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
To the, yes, to the Monday evening event,
council
correct.
meeting.
That's what I was
Yes,
thinking. Cheapskate.
yeah,
Oh, that's
the council,
Fair point.
correct.
If there's no other issues or discussion, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Thank you. Second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.